I'm got a fairly good response with showing parts of my collection last time. I think I'm going to keep doing that. Just about to close up the store here. I did the A section last time. The B section is a little more involved out of my alphabetical documenting my record collection on the YouTubes. It takes up about 4-5 Kalax sections, and for those who know what Kalaxes are, it's a storage unit introduced by IKEA that's literally perfect for records. There's 5 sections of that. So I have to break the B's up into 2 videos, or it's just going to be like an hour and a half long, and I don't really like to go that long because, frankly, as much as I love hearing myself speak, as people have noted with my intros here, I get tired. I'm going to do the first part. This will include up to my Beatles collection, and I know I have showed the Beatles collection in another video, but it's changed a bit. And I'm just documenting the record collection as it stands right now. So I'm going to do that, and then probably next week I'll do the second half of the B's. So without further ado, as they say, let's go look at some records. Okay, so that's sort of the first part of the B's. This is not going to be in alphabetical order. There's some more down here on the floor that I'll bring up later. But this is not going to be in alphabetical order within the letter itself. I'm not very good at doing that stuff. I am overall not a super organized person. I never have been. And my record collection goes through stages of really, really organized and then utter chaos. There'll be piles of records, not piles, but, leaning up against records on the floor. There are parts that are not here that I'm sure some other place. And right now is one of those particularly chaotic periods, and that's when I decided to do this. So there are probably records that I have in my collection that are not going to be here, and I might take note of that. I don't know. We'll just sort of play it by ear. So this is the first part of the B's. That sounds weird to say, the B's. And it will cover all the Beatles, the Beach Boys, Les Baxter, other stuff like that. And then I have the second half, which will have Sabbath and Bowie and Big Star and things like that in it. But this is the first one. And I know, again, I will state, I do have a separate video that I put out a couple of years back, maybe, of just my Beatles collection. So if you saw that, you can kind of skip over this maybe. There's been some additions, but not a lot. But anyways, here we go. So it's the Beatles 6, issued in 69. Show the labels with these because that is why I have so many copies of certain records, is because for a while I was collecting different labels. But I do particularly like these green capital Target labels, as they're called. Most of this stuff will be Canadian pressings because I am in Canada, Dunnville, Ontario, to be exact. This is a UK 71. So you can see that there. This is 73 UK French export press. I do make notes for myself on these. And as I explained before, sometimes you will see prices on these. That isn't stuff that I paid. That's sort of, if I die, my wife doesn't sell this stuff for $1 a piece type thing. So there is another UK. I haven't noted the year on that, but it's a little earlier because it is the yellow Parlophone for help. There's a 74. I imagine this is a Canadian pressing. On the capital red. There is a 65 Canadian mono in the original shrink on the rainbow capital. This is probably another copy, Canadian mono, and it is same one. So I've got doubles of that, so I'll probably have to do that. That's a 65 on the capital rainbow. There is a 65 on the capital orangey red. I don't know what you call that label. This one doesn't say, because I've got it in the original Pathé inner sleeve. So I know that that is going to be, yeah, it's a 65 mono Canadian. It's in the original shrink and has the original Pathé inner. There's a 64 first Canadian stereo. Oh, Jay. Sometimes you need to do this to sort of get an idea, because you kind of forget about your collection sometimes once it gets to the size that mine is at. It's not nearly the biggest, but I'm at the point where I'm counting Kalax units now rather than the albums themselves. So it's probably, I don't know, I'm going to say between 1,000 and 3,000 somewhere, which is a crazy number. So this is the Beatles. 64 first Canadian. It is the mono pressing, and it's the Long Tall Sally. Again, it has the original. That's the correct inner sleeve for that one too. This is the Capital 6000 Long Tall Sally mono again. And then this, for some reason or other, uses the same cover. It's the Capital 6000 series. No, it's not actually. Yeah, this isn't. This is the second album, as it's called here. This is the Canadian pressing of it. Here is a USA pressing of it. This is the 64 mono Scranton pressing, second album. Here is another one. It's in shrink as well, so probably an early one. I can't see the sleeve on that. Hard Day's Night. United Artists, I think that is, yeah, it's a USA pressing. This one is another in the original loose baggy plastic stereo, and that is a Canadian United Artists label there. Hard Day's Night, 71 UK repress. You see, another Hard Day's Night. That's an earlier one. I don't have a date on it. Dating Beatles records is a nightmare. You know what? Like, I love Beatles albums, obviously. But just when I find a bunch of them, it's like, oh my God, figuring out which pressing you have. There's so many. This one's kind of interesting for those who haven't seen it before. It's the Beatles story. It's just like selections of their hits and then interviews with fans and well, it says that stuff right in there. So it's almost like a little Beatles radio show more than anything else. There's Canadian Capital, the red Target label. Something new on the rainbow, and that's a stereo one. This is a mono. And it will be on the Capital rainbow label, and that's the correct Capital inner sleeve with the angel and Pathé printed on it. That's the green Target label there. This is a VJ. I don't know a lot about this one. I think it's probably like a reissue, but it is, again, earlier recordings of the Beatles, 1980s. It's the purple label in Canada. 63 first press in the shrink. And it's the correct matrix numbers, according to that, to be a first Canadian press on the rainbow. Twist and Shout, something that I guess the UK guys and US guys haven't seen. This was, I believe, a Canadian exclusive, the cover anyways. This is a first 67 Canadian press. Sorry, no, obviously it couldn't be a first press of a 67. It's a 67 press on the Capital Rainbow. It's a reissue, but it's in the shrink still. There's a 64, which is, there's a whole bunch of stuff on there. It's still in the shrink. And again, there's the Capital Rainbow label. Here's another one that I have. And there's another 64 Canadian mono. I've got a lot of these, and that's the correct inner sleeve there. There's another. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, so I got a few of those. I'm going to have to go through and sort of sort. This looks like a UK pressing. Yeah, it's probably a reissue. The Beatles for Sale. And I'm going to pause for a second, just because I'm going to move this pile off to the side. We're back and we got some more room here. Meet the Beatles. That is, I'm not sure. Let's see here. Can I do this with my hand? Yeah, just a capital reissue on the orange. Meet the Beatles. That is a USA on the capital thing. Probably an earlier pressing. I'd have to sort of look that one up. 78 Canadian repress on the purple labels. These are a nightmare. Introducing the Beatles on VJ. I don't know if mine are real. I believe they are. I have a couple of different variants with the backs and the covers and everything like that. So there you go. So finally here, although there are more Beatles stuff there, a bit of a break from the Beatles. I did this sort of in reverse as I was pulling them out. So here we go. 1984, this is Def Jam released, I think there were like 7 or 8 of these. I'm not an expert by any stretch of these early singles with this cover. This one is the Beastie Boys. It's the second release ever on Def Jam, apparently. There is the label. I got this out of a DJ's collection. He used to DJ at a roller rink, so he had some cool stuff. So that's that. This one is MCA and Bazooty, which is basically the Beastie Boys. And I think this one is early too. It's part of that or early releases from them. You can see the label there. Those are some of my things. Early on, I have a store. If I haven't mentioned it before, I'm sure I have. I had a lot more Beastie Boys in my collection. When I opened the store 20 years ago, so right around the 2000s, I do mid-century modern and vintage clothing and all kinds of stuff, but I've always had records. And I sort of thinned out my personal collection, and sadly, a lot of Beastie Boys 12 inches picture sleeves went, and early pressings went. And you know what? God bless the people who got them for back in 2000 prices, because well done. Wish I hadn't. Anyways, Beach Boys, here we go. So Holland, this one does come with the 7-inch. I've got it inside there, but I don't have the time to pull it out and show you. Beach Boys Love You. That's on their own label there. What is this now? Here's a copy of Pet Sounds with no sleeve. So that's probably in better shape than some of the other ones I have. But that is just the album itself. Wild Honey, I love this record. And Smiley Smile, I love this record too. I love this record as well. Beach Boys Surf's Up. This one gets overlooked a ton. I think a lot of people are revisiting it now. It is a really beautiful album. I know that, you know, the first thing you think of usually with the Beach Boys is going to be Pet Sounds, but a lot of their later stuff was really good too. So 63 Canadian mono, Surfing USA. This is a Canadian mono as well. Yeah, I believe they're on the thing, probably a first Canadian. This is another Canadian mono with no brackets, and that means a little hint, because if you look here, I'll show you a little difference. And this applies to Beatles records too. Right there. Oh, see how the brackets are around Canada? That usually indicates that it was, I can't remember now if it's a first or second pressing. And then you see there, no brackets around Canada. So for my Canadian friends, something to look out for. Friends, another great record that gets overlooked. I don't know why I have 2 copies of this. That one came with a poster, apparently. So there you go, another copy of that. Maybe that'll go out in the store. The 65, these were all, you know, I call them sort of exploitation records, where they put this party out. It's a fun little record to listen to, but it does come with the photo inserts and the original correct inner sleeve. Surfer Girl, God, that's such a great album too. Shut Down. And here we go into some, I really enjoyed, I'm not going to lie, I got into sort of space age, bachelor pad, Exotica music via Stereolab, one of my favorite bands. And when I discovered Stereolab in the 90s, I would read interviews with them, and they would name drop a lot of interesting artists, and I would go hunt them down. This is kind of cool. It's a lost episode. It's a 10-inch. Came out in 95, and it's like a bunch of stuff that wasn't released. And it's really interesting in itself. Jewels of the Sea, Ritual of the Savage, or Le Sacre du Sauvage. That's my French. I love this cover. There's part of me that like would love to do this as like a Halloween thing, but I don't think I have any other friends who would like understand it or want to do it with me. But yeah, pretty valuable too. It's a 58 US mono first pressing. Soul of the Drums, that's a Canadian mono. Here we go into some Bauhaus. Again, same thing. I also sold a lot of my 4AD stuff in university. I was running out of food money, and rather than go back and bug my parents for a top-up, because I only had a few months to go, I decided to sell some of the few things that I had in the mid-90s with me at university, which was my records, and a lot of my 4AD and creation records went. And frankly, I thought I'd be able to get them again, because back in the 90s, it was easy to find records inexpensively too. I can't tell you the amount of, God, the pressings that I sold, especially like My Bloody Valentine, Loveless. And I just, now I can't really justify paying the money for them anymore, so I just kept what I got. So Burning Inside, that's one of the ones that I managed to get again. 83 UK pressing. The Classics 84 UK pressing of the 79 to 80. What's it again? 83. So that's that. Syd Barrett's solo record. This is the one that has Mad Cat Laughs and Barrett. It's like a 2, was issued as a 2 record set. And yeah, I think this is, yeah, there it is on Harvest. African Bambaataa. This one's interesting because like everybody's on it. It's not the best record in the world, unfortunately, but it's still African Bambaataa. You got Bootsy Collins on there, George UB40, Boy George, Sly Fox, King Yellow, Sly and Robbie, Nona Hendrix. I'm sure there's lots more on there. It's just an interesting, more than anything else, record. Now this is something that is one of my favorite things in my collection. It's the 1982 release of the Planet Rock single, which you know, is early hip hop and funk, and it's got bonus beats on there, which is really great if you're into like electro funk type stuff, which, you know, I enjoy it. I have no rhythm myself, but you know, I love it. Hank Ballard and the Midnighters. This is a pretty hard record to find. Unfortunately, my copy isn't in the best of shape, but if you ever find a clean copy of this, pick it up. It's worth it. It's a 58 on King. Show you the label there. I think that's a Canadian one. I think the King labels in black were Canadian. Sweet Chet. Well, I guess he wasn't that sweet. He was kind of a bit of a prick. But brilliant trumpet player, and his vocals are, I mean, second to none. That's a great record to pick up there. Where are the rest of my Chets? I don't know. Yeah, they kind of wandered. 10 Stoop Bassnecker. I have no idea why I have this. Not gonna lie. I probably should put it out in the store because I'm just not that into dubstep. I enjoy it. It's fun to have a little bit here and there, but maybe that's why I kept it. The Electric 12s, the Bandits, which it's basically the Wrecking Crew. You have Hal Blaine on drums, Glenn Campbell on guitar. I bet you if I looked, you'd probably find Carol Kay on bass. There's some more Chet Baker. There you go. Show the label on that. On Pacific. Yep. There is an early 10-inch of Chet Baker Sings. This is in rough shape, but I just had to keep it when I came across it because it just, I don't know. One day maybe I'll get a better copy. Badly Drawn Boy. I love Badly Drawn Boy. He had that, he kind of flared out a bit. Like every Mojo magazine for a while in the early 2000s all they had was Badly Drawn Boy articles on there, and everybody loved him. And then the second record, kind of, they fizzled out on covering of Bad Brains. This is a remaster from 2021. It's kind of essential having a copy of it in some way, shape, or form. I have it on CD, but I had to pick that up. I love Joni Baez. I don't know why I don't have any more than this. I do. Like, if you go to the store, that's the thing. I also sort of use my store as my own personal collection, which is not a great idea because things sell sometimes. But generally, yeah, I've got a lot of Joni out there. Two of, like, the best records that often people overlook. The B-52s were incredible. They were like this incredible party band, and they were just so much fun. And they're sitting on, I believe it's Woodward chairs, which I would love to get some of those from. It kind of crosses it. This cover hits all of the things I love, like mid-century modern design. Look at that starburst, essentially starburst clock. Just, yeah, everything there. And then, oh boy, there it is. Planet Claire might be one. Whoop, almost dropped the phone. Might be one of my favorite songs of all time. I just love it so much. And then these were a couple that came from that DJ's collection that didn't have covers, and they're really good. They're both from the B-Boys, 83 pressings. Sadly didn't have a cover. I think, does this one? It's just got the street wave thing, but it's like electro-funk again. So there you go. I'm going to set these up, and then we're going to do So I've moved those ones. We'll continue. This, I believe, all the way to the back is Beatles stuff, so we'll go through this as quickly as possible. This is live at the Hollywood Bowl, probably a Canadian pressing from what I can tell, but I did note that I have that insert that came with it. Yeah, it would be, because that's in French. I can't tell you the number of times that people have peeled these off and tried to sell them to me as legitimate tickets. I have to go get the album and show them. There's one you can actually see the label. Past Masters, I believe this came out in the 90s, perhaps. A little harder to find, actually, these volumes 1 and 2. I believe I only have volume 2. So many Beatles reissues. I can't even begin, especially once they broke up. But that was, again, another harder to find one. This is a Dutch pressing of Love Songs, live at the Star Club, off the Beatle track. This is more of a George Martin record than a Beatles record, but it's instrumental versions of Beatles' big hits. Only come across this a few times. It's on United Artists, and that is a promo copy as well. Here's another one that is George Martin and his orchestra doing the score to Help, I believe. Again, hard. The Beatles with Tony Sheridan and guests. Another one, it's probably the same recording. I like that cover, though. God, they look cool. Ain't She Sweet? The Beatles, another great group, sounds from the UK. Jolly What? The Beatles and Frank Ifield on stage. There, it's on VJ. Another one at the Hamburg Club. Oh, here's another one at the Hamburg. I got to go through my collection and thin it out again. Sing a Song with the Beatles. It's basically karaoke. It's just the instrumental versions and chord symbols, and you can sing along and put it on like early karaoke. Who doesn't want to do that? This is, I picked up last year. I bought a big collection of 60s records, and this was included there. It's a early bootleg, and it is a 64 collection of the 64 Hollywood Bowl that I think is actually different. That's it on lemon than the actual one that they released officially. This I kept because these were my mom and dad's records. Unfortunately, there was a flood, and they lost the covers. But these are the ones they bought in the UK, and I'm sure I've told this story many times before. It's Please Please Me, UK pressings. My mother, well, all of us, I was born in the UK, just on the Mersey River there in a town called Widnes, Lancashire. And my mother did get to see the Beatles at the Cavern and at, I think it was called the Queen's Hall in Widnes. Could be wrong on that. Sorry if I am. And she did briefly get to meet them. And yeah, so she always loved the Beatles. And that was some of the first music I ever heard, was the Beatles. So there you go. Kept this one because it has the Hey Jude Apple hype sticker. I collect hype stickers. Don't know why. Oh, and that one also came with the poster. There's the poster there. So that's a 1970s on the Apple label pressing again. This one is the Beatles again, rather than Hey Jude. This is an Italian. I gotta get better at holding the phone. Good Lord, it's terrible. Beatles 1970s Italian pressing. There you go there. Mono and stereo. Let It Be. Gonna say it's Canadian. Let It Be. Gonna say that's Canadian too. Okay, so these are definitely Canadian because this is I don't know why I have 2 copies of the Let It Be box set. I'm gonna pause this for a second because I'm gonna take it out and show, because I don't know if I actually showed the one before in the other video that I did with my Beatles stuff before, so we'll just pause. Okay, so now you can see this was apparently exclusive to Canada and maybe New Zealand, I don't know, but this is the Canadian version of it. As you can see, it comes with this slip sleeve. And then you opened it up and it had an inner thing, and there is the album itself. It's just the regular album, but then inside you got this little box and you got a book. Let It Be book. These books are notorious for falling apart. I'm not going to take it out because I know it will. Oh, look, I already got fingerprints on it. This one hasn't because I haven't flipped through it. But whatever glue they use to bind this is terrible and dries up and essentially crumbles. And as soon as you flip through the book more than a couple of times, the pages all fall out. So finding one without pages that are all falling apart is harder to do. But I did want to show you that just because last time I did it, I don't think I did. But you can see there what it is. And it just slides right into that sleeve there. So, yeah, we'll continue over here with this. There's another copy of it. Bit of a hoarder. This one's still in shrink. Abbey Road. Canadian early pressing, probably first stereo. That is a UK on the Apple label. Again, I didn't wear it. Yellow Submarine. This is the 78 Canadian reissue. This one came on white vinyl, as you can see there. I believe it was exclusive to Canada. In the 70s, Canada did a bunch of exclusives on Beatles stuff. They had a gray marbled version of Sgt. Pepper's, which should be in here someplace, hopefully, and a gold see-through, translucent vinyl version of Love Songs, which I thought I had, but I didn't see when I went through the Love Songs there. But that's, yeah, the white album on white vinyl. This, I should have labeled all these, I believe is a Japanese pressing. No Obi, unfortunately. Yeah, EAS, I think that's it, yeah. Japanese numbered pressing. It does have the booklet, but again, no Obi on that. I think that's the Japanese one. I know I have a Japanese one in here. I think that's standard Canadian on the purple label, reissue. That one is just the embossed Canadian pressing again on the Apple label. Oh, Lord. So many different variations. Standard... I'm just going to say, oh, look, I think it's 74 press with the damaged poster and some surface noise, but it doesn't skip. Hooray. 68 pressing. This is a USA one. It's embossed and numbered. So there you go. Another Canadian embossed and has all the posters and pictures and everything. Most of those should. So I'm going to tell you again, even though I've told everybody, because this is a Canadian pressing. And one of the big glaring holes in my Beatles collection, obviously, is I don't have a butcher. And the big reason for that is butchers are only in the U.S. In Canada, we never had one. I know there are people screaming, oh, that's... No. It's absolutely, there is no such thing as a Canadian butcher press that was sold. There were some mock-ups done. an executive at Capitol actually wrote a letter explaining the whole situation. They did some mock-ups. They never printed it. They made a few that are in the hands of a few collectors apparently, but they were not paste overs. There were no paste overs. So if someone tries to sell you a Canadian copy of this and tell you, oh, you can see the V over here, and tell you that it is a butcher pressing, if it's a Canadian pressing, it ain't. They didn't do press overs here, paste overs here, so it just isn't. And a long time ago, I wanted one back when I was a kid, like 16, and there was a couple of second and third states, and they were cheap. Like, you could get a really nice second state for like maybe $150 back then. And you know, peeled, same thing. It wasn't very much, and I didn't, because it was a lot of money for a teenager, so I kind of wish I had, because now I can't justify paying what they go for. So here's one, again, in the shrink, mono, Canadian, 74 Canadian reissue on the Capital Red label. And then here we go. So in 95, I forget why, but they reissued all of the Beatles things. They digitally remastered them because everybody was going digital. And in the 90s, as you well know, there weren't a lot of domestic vinyl press. These were available on import. So I bought a couple of them, and I still have these. That's it there. Pretty hard to find. A lot of people sort of, because it was digitally remastered, not big fans of it. I don't mind. 67 Canadian stereo first, and it is in the, I'll show you their original shrink. The thing about the original shrink back then was it was loose baggy like that, and they used to put it across both, so you could actually open the gatefold up. In fact, I'm going to stop and show you that. So I got it out of its sleeve, and you can see how they did it. They put shrink on, and I've had this across a lot of 60s gatefolds. It's that loose baggy, and it went across so you could open it up in the store and still see the actual gatefold. So there you go. Those, you know, the more you know, I guess. 67 imports. This is UK. It says first pressing, which, you know what? Maybe? I don't know. This, I think, is this the... No, it's Canadian mono. Yeah, again. That was the stereo, the one there, but that's the mono. You can see it doesn't have stereo across the top. Hence the mono. And there's the label there. Sorry about the glare. There's another Canadian mono. Why do I have so many? Another Canadian stereo. Another Canadian stereo. This is actually kind of interesting. This is 67 first Swiss pressing. There's the Odeon label there. It's one of the best versions that I've heard. It is, I don't know if it was mastered louder or something, but I remember putting this on and going, wow, that's really powerful and good. So I don't know, maybe it's just my ears or whatever I happen to be into at the time of me putting it on. And there it is. Yeah, that's the gray marble version of it. I think it was in 78 or 77 they put that one out. So there you go. Magical Mystery Tour plus other things. And that's a German pressing. Magical Mystery Tour Canadian mono with the correct inner sleeve. There's a Canadian stereo without the correct inner sleeve. Perhaps my favorite Beatles record, are between this and Rubber Soul every time for me. US mono on the Capital Rainbow. UK stereo. It's a later reissue on the UK, but still. You know, I know people in the UK are like, oh, that's no big deal. But finding UK stuff here is, you know, it's unique. Not particularly more valuable or anything, but just a little more unique. We don't see as much of that here, just like you probably don't see as much of labels like that. There's Canadian mono first press. There is a Canadian, it says re-release. Still on the thing. It's Canadian stereo. And that's probably a first stereo pressing. Rubber Soul, Canadian First press mono. UK re-release stereo. You can see it there. US mono re-release. But I can't show you the label because it's not there. The Beatles 6. And that's the Canadian. Oh, I dropped the phone again. How many times am I going to do that? Yeah, so that's the Capital on orange. Wow, this video is long and I still got more stuff to do. And there is a Canadian first press right there on the cap stereo. Okay, I can bring the stuff up from the floor and then we'll go. Okay, so we're in the home stretch here. Almost done. This is a picture disc. I don't know what's on it, not gonna lie. It's interviews, but cool shots. Man, I'd love to have an AC30 or any of those guitars or that drum kit. Just basically any Beatles gear would be rad. J45 Gibson. Oh, the Hofner Beatle bass. A Rickenbacker. I mean, I could go on. Anyways, 1970 Fan Club Christmas album. That one is on the Apple. I've got a note written on there. No idea why. Tour poster for, not poster, program from, this was the Canadian tour and probably USA tour program. I'm not going to flip through that because I'm going way beyond what I thought I would in terms of time. Collection of Beatles oldies, early Beatles. That is Canadian and it's on the green Capital Target label. That's a UK pressing, I believe, or maybe German. Dutch. Ha! Dutch. Beatles Greatest Hits. Beatles Beat on Odeon, and that's probably German. Germans. Yeah, there you go again. There's another one. There's another one of the EMI Odeon. I don't know. Germany again. Lots of these Germans. This one is a 68 German pressing. I actually wrote on it in the shrink. This came from that 60s collection that I bought. If you want to go back and look, it's worth it because, my God, it was a great collection. It contained a ton of sealed 60s records, and then I did a separate video of open stuff. That came from that. This would have been sold in Canada. And even though it's a German pressing, this is the imported directly from Europe on the hype sticker on there. Now is this it? Love Songs, is this the... No, that's just a regular black vinyl. And that is also just the regular black vinyl. There's a gold vinyl version of it, and I don't know where I'd put it. Which tells me I've got way too many records. Okay, so this one is basically, it was like a peace, World Wildlife Fund type thing on Starline, and all these different artists got together on it. I haven't listened to it and compared it since I found it, but apparently the Beatles, they gave permission for them to use Let It Be, and it is a completely different mix than was released on their own album. Is it true or not? I don't know. I haven't checked. Birth of the Beatles. These were Italian. They were great little collections they put out. You can see all the different artists. I mean, and there's some really interesting stuff on there, like Lonnie Smith. And then it was just great. Like, I have a Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground, one of these. They're really cool. This I actually picked up. You can see it in another video that I got. I got at the town dump. There was a whole bunch of records being basically tossed out. And they put them in this area where you can take stuff for free before it does, if they think it's worth, while. And I happened to get there. And this is super hard to find. Apparently, George really loved Santo and Johnny. So did a lot of British guys. I mean, they did Sleepwalk, and a lot of early guitar players got their chops from listening to Santo and Johnny. Jimmy Page has mentioned their version of Summertime is probably the best one that ever has. It's on the Canadian American, and it is minty. Why it was going to the garbage, I don't know. So super glad to have this. It's them covering Beatles hits, and apparently, let's see the back now. See, it's official too. I guess George gave him permission to do that, because you wouldn't be able to get away with putting pictures of the Beatles on there. And I think it does say something in the spiel on the back about George. I think it's actually written by George, if I recall. Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't know. Sometimes I have no idea what I'm talking about. This is a UK pressing of the Beatles, Rock and Roll Music 2. Rarities. These were the anthologies that were put out in the 90s. I think I have volume 1 and 2. Sadly, I don't have 3. But you never know. So there's, 1, and there's 2. The Beatles' first live recordings in Hamburg. That's a Netherlands press, and I just love the hype sticker. I collect hype stickers. I collect everything. I've got a problem. Ultra Rare Beatles Tracks Volume 1, and that is on a weird little bootleg label, and it is clear vinyl. Ultra Rare Tracks 2, because if you got 1, you got to have 2, and it's on blue vinyl. And I think, is that it? That is it. We're back to the beginning. So, yeah, those are the first part of the bees. Oh my God, my knees. Oh, such an old man. The sacrifices I make for you people. So yeah, that's it. It's gone way longer than I thought. My apologies on that. I do try to keep the videos down below like 40 minutes, but I think we went way over this time. But imagine if I had tried to do it all in one go. The bees, I believe, is like 4 or 5 of those Kalax units. My S's will be similar when I get to those. But this is part 1 of the bees. I hope you enjoyed it. And, throw some comments in there. I'm going to keep doing this whether people like it or not. But so far, it's been pretty positive responses. And thank you for that. I do, like anybody, enjoy a little encouragement. Hope you all are able to enjoy some records over the next little while. Bye.